Begin by putting down a piece of masking tape or just a long piece of tape that can represent a horizontal line that goes beyond the width of your paper. Then I line up my paper to be centered on top of that piece of tape. I'm going to take 2 more pieces of tape and use them to hold my paper down. I like to put them on my clothes first and then rip them off so that they have some fuzzies on them and they're a little bit less sticky. So when I take them off my paper, they won't rip my paper. So make sure that it's nice and straight and that tape line is going right behind your paper. So I'm putting a vanishing point on one piece of tape and a vanishing point on the opposite end of my tape. And I'm going to connect those 2 points as best I can. If you have an extra long ruler, this makes this a little easier. And I drew a horizon line. So that horizon line will eventually be erased, so I did it in pencil. You should do it lightly in pencil. I made it a little darker for the video so you could see it. So I'm going to start by drawing my first vertical line in the center of my page. This is going to be the tallest building in my picture, and it goes right through that horizon line. Okay. So it determines how tall my tallest building is. Now I'm connecting with my pencil the top and the bottom of that to my vanishing point, and then I'm doing the same thing on the other side with my other vanishing point. So these lines I did in pencil because the real lines I want to keep will not extend all the way to the vanishing point. So I'm using my marker to define which lines will really stay on my paper and define the front face of my building. So the other side of my building is going to go back toward the other vanishing point. And then the vertical line must be parallel with all of the other vertical lines, including the vertical edge of my paper. They're all parallel. All vertical lines must be parallel. And all of the other lines are going to one of the vanishing points. So remember that rule. So now I'm doing another vertical line to determine how tall my next building is going to be. It's going to be a little shorter. And I'm going to connect the top of that line, that building to the vanishing point on one side, and that's going to be the top edge of my building on the one side. I'm going to make this an extra long building this time. It's going to be like short and squat. And then the next line will have to be a vertical line that's parallel with all the other vertical lines. So now I'm going to connect the other side to the other vanishing point to define the top edge of that building and the bottom edge of that building. Connecting it to that vanishing point. And I just won't see the back edge of that building. It goes behind my other building because the other building's in the front of it. And I'll just continue making buildings. They can be different heights. That first vertical line you draw for every building will define how tall your building's going to be. Then you connect the top and the bottom of that vertical line to the vanishing point on both sides. You decide how long or narrow you want that building to be and end it with a vertical line like that. So that's kind of letting me know how far back that building is going to go. And the opposite side goes to the opposite vanishing point. And I know I want to keep those lines, so I'm going over them in marker. Now I'm going to make a sidewalk. So I'm just going straight down, making this sort of like an invisible vertical line straight down from the center of my first building. And I'm going to connect that point to the vanishing point on both sides. And from that center point, I'm going to make another short little vertical line. Make sure it's vertical, parallel with everyone else. Just a short little one to be like the curb. And then the bottom of that will connect to each vanishing point as well. So I'm just going to darken up those initial sidewalk lines and then connect the bottom of that little curb to each vanishing point as well. And now I want those lines that separate the sidewalk into like little blocks, and they get closer together as they go back into the distance. And there is a mathematical way to determine exactly how far apart they are as they go back into the distance, but for this project we're just going to eyeball it and make sure that they are each getting closer together as they go further into the distance, just incrementally each time a little bit closer together. So I take a peek and see how that's coming along. I'm just going to add a few more lines into the distance. They kind of go off my page a little bit. I'm just making sure everyone is connected to that same vanishing point with my ruler so that I get the angle correct. It's kind of a severe angle at this point, so I want to make sure I'm really using that vanishing point to get the right angle. So I'm going to go on the other side of the building in the same spot where the opposite block starts, and connect that to the opposite vanishing point. And again, just going to eyeball how close each block will get to the one before it. They just need to get closer together as they go back into the distance. So now I want to make a door. So I'm going to make vertical lines, and they're going to determine how tall my door is. Just make sure that they're parallel to the other lines in my picture. And I'll take the top of my door and connect it to the vanishing point that is on that side of my paper. So this door is on the left-hand side of my paper, so I'm connecting the top edge to my left-hand vanishing point. So I'm going to go over to the right-hand side of my paper and add 2 more lines that will be my windows, or a window. Bottom edge is connected to the right-hand vanishing point, and now I'm making a little curve. And I'll just continue using my vanishing point to add details throughout my work. I want this roof to be triangular, so I'm going to find the center of that front wall and go straight up. Just kind of use my ruler to get a vertical that goes straight up. Mark that point and connect it to either side of my building to make the triangle. And now the top point of my triangle needs to go toward the opposite vanishing point to get the top ridge of that roof. So watch how I connect this point to the opposite vanishing point. And so now my roof looks correct.